Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 118, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, as always, Magicman, and joining me, as he always does, the lovely and talented Mr. Jason Winter.
You're supposed to ask how I'm doing.
Oh,
That's the next part.
How are you?
I'm gonna be all lonely for Thanksgiving.
Oh. Not making any trips or hanging out with fam or anything?
No, I'm gonna have a turkey sandwich and watch football. That's about the extent of it.
So we always have the thing with the in-laws in the afternoonish, and then my parents at night. So it's like a full day of going around and seeing all the family. You guys are watching this on Thanksgiving. We're recording it the day before, obviously, since, well, some of us have holiday plans.
Yeah, no, just remind me. Just keep rubbing it in,
I'm
man.
sorry. You're welcome to come over. You just hop on a plane right now. You'll be here in plenty of time for it.
Just like that, yep.
Well, for those of you in the United States, happy Thanksgiving. And if you're out of the United States but celebrating the holiday, congratulations. Have fun to you too. Stay safe. Don't eat too much. And be thankful for all you have. Let's slide over and go over to the news. Alrighty. What do we got today? Well, first off, we're going to disagree on this one. I already know it.
That's because we talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, we had a few lines of chat back and forth on this one a little bit, and we're going to throw in the whole Civ Online thing, because I think we're going to slightly disagree there too. So we'll kind of lump them into one just disagreement category. I'm going to show you guys some footage from Prismata First Look that you're going to see going up on the site on Friday. So if you're watching this the day it comes out, the first look will be available tomorrow. But first, let's talk about Prismata. So what is it? It's a card game with real-time strategy elements. It's kind of a genre blend, a few ideas from different things kind of smushed together. I guess you could technically call it a card game, since artistically it does look like cards, but there's no real deck assembly or card buying or anything going on here like Hearthstone. The object, of course, is to take out your opponent, destroy all the cards on their side of the playing field, while building up resources and using that to create units on your own. It's by Lunark Studios, totally free to play. They make a point in there, and this is one part that you and I did both like, at the end of their trailer when they say free and it has an asterisk next to it. And then at the end it fades in on the footnote for the asterisk, and it says, no, really, totally free, no money, no grinding. Because all the units are available to you. There are elements of randomness in the battle, which I know I'm not generally a fan of, but I like the way this is done as opposed to the RNG stuff we've talked about previously with some Hearthstone cards. And we'll get to all of that. You're a card game guy, and so every time a card game pops up, I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So overall, before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of it, overall thoughts on Prismata?
Well, first of all, great for the one of the co-founders, Elliot, to hop on our article,
Absolutely.
give some comments, respond to our readers. Props to him. Again, like you said, the more I look it over and watch a little bit of the trailer video, look at their Kickstarter, I don't even know that I can really call that a card game. 'Cause like you said, it doesn't have cards that you draw into a deck or a hand or cast or anything like that. It's all this kind of mostly non-random thing. So they try to define it more as an RTS, and that it almost makes sense from that standpoint. But like you said, it feels like a card game in the way you manage your units, the way it looks like, and so on. And if you look at it from that, in terms of the construction and how you get ready for a game, it's a lot more simple than a lot of other games. I think that's kind of cool. Once you get into the game, though, I think it layers on so many levels of complexity that it's going to be intimidating to a lot of people. And I think that's going to be something of an issue in helping it attract. I know they're not looking for a Hearthstone-sized audience. They're not expecting millions of players. But you were even commenting to me a little bit how you were getting your ass kicked by the computer.
Oh, definitely. And
so on and so forth. So it's going to be something that's going to be tough for a lot of people to get into, I think.
To set the stage for those of you, I mean, this is airing a day before our first look video, so if you're not all that familiar with it, what exactly are you watching on the screen right now? You're watching me play a bot in like a simulated bot training. The cards on the bottom are mine, cards on the top are the bot. There's a dividing line across the middle. The units displayed on the left-hand side of the screen there is what Jason was referencing. There's no real deck to be concerned with. It's predefined units, basically. That's what's going on here. And so my units and my opponent's units all have to come from those units on the left. There are slight modifiers that you can put in a +5 or a +8, and it will randomly generate 5 or 8 units that you have access to, but they're random every match. So you can't really build a custom strategy. You can kind of start mapping out, this is the way I want to start most games, but there is no, I'm going to build the hunter deck and build a zoo deck and then just raffle stomp through it, because the strategies could change drastically based on the random elements in there. So yeah, the training bots I can beat consistently, no problem. And as far as the intimidation factor, I definitely see where you're coming from. When you watch their little trailer vignette thing on their Kickstarter, and we posted it on the article posting on MMO Bomb, when you watch that trailer and you see things sliding everywhere and coins going everywhere and numbers, and you're just, what the hell is going on here? You have no semblance of it. Yes, the first look is done in a browser. It's not a browser-based game, though. They're sticking to a browser for the alpha so that they can monitor things a little bit easier on their side. The idea is, though, that this would be a full client download and eventually make its way onto your tablets and your mobile devices. So yeah, it's in a browser right now, but don't let that turn you off if you're not a fan of browser games, because it isn't going to be one. So yeah, the whole trailer was intimidating. When you take the, whatever it was, 8 minutes, 9 minutes to sit down and watch their how to play video, it starts making a lot more sense and becomes a lot less intimidating.
Actually, that's what I was talking about. That's what intimidated me, was the
Oh, really?
Video. Yeah, not the trailer.
I found after I played maybe 1 game, 2 games, I had a firm grasp on everything that was going on. Okay. That didn't mean that I was good at it. I mean, I can beat the training bots consistently, but as soon as I click on Scenario 1, because there's lots of single-player content, and then, of course, ranked matches and tournaments, I mean, that's all built in here already, and it's just an alpha. It's already there. Anything that I kicked up a PvE scenario against a bot, and it just frickin' trounces me. And there is no training inside the game yet. That's still in development, so they do supply you, if you're in alpha, with the training videos and a document on how to play. So it is a little rough to get into right now, but I found after 2 matches, I had it. And the only thing I had to take a second to look at, was if there was a new unit in the hotbar on the left that I wasn't familiar with. Just take a second and look at what it does. I'm having a blast with it. I really like it. I like what they want to do with the free-to-play model. I don't know if it's going to make any money.
Exactly.
I mean, because they're literally giving you the entire game. This is their current plan, according to their Kickstarter. You get it all. They're going to sell custom emotes and skins and things like that through some, but again, it's a card game. What am I going to do with skins all that much? You know, I don't know.
I would assume card backs or something too, in addition to like your avatar.
But you never see the back of a card.
Okay, well, never mind.
Ever.
Then. Okay. And avatars or something, or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the emotes will be fun, but okay. It's an emote, though, if I don't really want to spend... And again, all that stuff can also be won in the game, so it's like, oh, man, how are they going to make this free to play? Like, I love your model, but I'm concerned that you're not going to make any money on it at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you read the free to play saying, you know, there's a bunch of guys who quit MIT to do this. And I'm like, well, that's great, and it's good for you guys, and more power to you, but not the career choice I would have made or suggested, I think.
I'm very curious to see what they do with monetization, because I've got to think they have a plan that they think is financially viable. Otherwise, they would not be making some of the early decisions that they're making now. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
You go right ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt.
There's probably more monetization stuff that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, but then they get into their whole promise. Oh, not pay to win, no grinding, no regret. So if they start introducing more stuff, where does all that go? What does all that will go?
So what's their Kickstarter funding then? I mean, if you're watching pretty much the core of the game here, basically they're on a Kickstarter right now to fund the server architecture behind the game, and they do want to put in some polish with the UI. I know that's something that a lot of people in the comments said right away. They didn't like the UI. And the layout of things. And again, to your point, yeah, it can be kind of confusing watching and not knowing what's going on here because it goes so fast.
Did you ever run up against the timer?
I did not. I didn't play any time modes, but there are benefits in different modes to playing quickly. Like a speed chess type thing.
That's just one more thing to intimidate new players.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see the intimidation factor. I will tell you, though, having played it, it's not intimidating at all.
Play against another person.
I haven't played against another person yet. That's why I tossed you a key and was like, hey.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Hey, let's try and get in here. And even they recommend. They said when I asked them for keys to do a first look for it, they said here's 2 keys because we recommend right now with no training or tutorial or anything in the game, we recommend learning the game with a friend. It's a lot more fun and less intimidating. So,
I guess I'll have to then.
So. I don't know. I'm really excited about this one. You brought up a fair point, though, that I'd like you to elaborate here on. That was and you linked me an article you wrote a year and a half or so ago, which was a really interesting piece about being hyped for the next thing or the next game or a game in general that you're just really, really pumped about, and then it always turns into, well, you play it for a week and that's it. I don't think Prismata falls into this for me. I've found myself playing it multiple times already when I wasn't recording footage, but I think there's a certain validity to what you have to say, particularly with this type of game.
Yeah, well, let's check back with you in a month or 2 and see if you're still playing. Because this, one of the reasons I wrote that article back then was a certain person we know talk about how awesome Age of Wushu looked and how he spent like 5 hours in the game, and then he never talked about it again afterwards.
And I called him out. We're talking about a mutual friend of ours, Gary Gannon, over at Gamebreaker TV, where Jason and I have hosted Twimo together for a year or so, and I called him out on that on a future episode after all of that. Right? He said something about spending money on something, and I said, "Really? How about that $250 you gave Age of Wushu? How's that investment going?"
How about didn't you buy the $100 pre-pack for Landmark, Mike?
For Landmark, yes, I did. I did buy that one. I was not given that as press. Yeah, that was a total waste of $100 for me. But here's the thing, though. I knew that was going to be, and I recognized that. I told you that at the time.
You're just taking $100 and lighting it on fire.
Right. I said, I'm probably not going to play this one all this much, but I want to get in there and see all the tools and what it looks like in anticipation of EQ next. I knew full well that I was not a creation guy and wasn't going to play too much of Landmark. But yeah, here's Sony, here's $100. Because I just got it like that. Yeah, right. Another one in this kind of strategy vein, although a bit different, Civ Online, which is more in your wheelhouse. We both love a good RTS, but you are really all about them. We've talked about Civ, we've talked about Rome, we've talked about a bunch of them on this show. You wrote a piece about Civ Online that I think kind of goes in this whole conversation of being hyped for the next thing and then seeing what's coming out. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning back on Civ Online now. I don't like some of the changes. I don't like some of the gameplay, but you're the opposite. You're Mike with Prismata. You're Jason with Civ Online. What are you thinking?
I think the changes they make are ones they kind of have to. I mean, you can't just have it be like like a multiplayer game. I mean, like a multiplayer game where people are just going to drop in and out, and you don't want civs on AI for hours and hours. You got to make it more into a game where instead of everybody being an individual civ, they're all part of a civilization, have to work together to do this sort of thing. That makes otherwise you don't want it to be just the same thing like a multiplayer game of Civ. You want it to be something that feels more like an MMORPG, and this is the only way I think they could really do it.
They really amped up the character creation, though. For God's
well, yeah,
sake.
because there is no character. I mean, everybody can't be Julius Caesar.
Yeah, but it was pretty in depth. Just looking at it, I didn't expect it to. I understand, you got to create a unique hero and everything, but I was surprised to see it as in depth as it was for Civ Online, which historically you don't really think of your character all that much in a Civ title.
But yeah, I mean, I think that their issues are going to be with getting people to cooperate, which is an issue in any game. Whenever you have, whenever you have, because I guess I talked about this a while back. I don't know if it was with you or something else I wrote, where like the toxicity in MOBAs, and people grouping together. I almost see that bleeding over, and we see it all. We've all been in a raid where someone is being a jerk, or even in some of the games that have big dynamic events, with someone's not doing the dynamic event perfectly right to farm the most materials, someone is yelling at them for being an idiot. So I wonder how that's going to work in this, and we all have to come together to decide if we're going to go to war, if we're going to build a wonder, or whatever it is. That's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Right now, the footage is of the scenario bot just beating the piss out of me. I mean, it's just not even close. I get to like turn 8, turn 9, and it just destroys me. So I definitely got to sink some more time into here. All right, I'm going to give Prismata the thumbs up. I'm digging it. I'm interested in it. I want to play more of it. We're giving away some alpha keys on the site. You don't have to worry about Jason Winter trying to win any of them. So check it out, mmobomb.com, if you want to get in there for your chance to win a Prismata alpha key and whoop my ass in some online card strategy whatever. And good luck to Jason and Civ Online, because it'll be 2018 before we see that title in the West. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a little Star Wars The Old Republic. This past week, we mentioned it last week that you were on secret assignment, Jason. Finally...
Boston spy.
Right. Finally, you're back. You posted your findings on the site for everybody to read. Check it out. It's a preview of Shadow of Revan, the expansion that's coming out in a little over a week or so for Star Wars The Old Republic. You got to spend some time with the team at BioWare. Give us your overall impressions of the expansion first, and then I got a couple questions for you.
I mean, the basic, like I said in the article, and I talked to a friend of mine who's kept up with Star Wars Old Republic, over the last couple of years while I haven't been playing, so I talked to him about it occasionally. And I just said it's like more of the same. It's like the initial game with more of it again, just more story, a few flashpoints, which is something they haven't had a whole lot of recently, apparently, because they've mostly just been doing new mechanics, introducing starfighters and strongholds and whatever. But when I say more of the same, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of like, if that's what you liked, a lot of people said, we like the storyline of Old Republic. Maybe not as much the grinding, the same planets over and over when we do alts. But supposedly, and I only got to see a little bit of it because I only had a few hours there. But the storyline, it's the cutscenes, and Revan with a voice actor. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna look like it's gonna be like that. And if that's what you like, then great. If you're looking for some new spectacular reworking of everything, that's not gonna happen. But they've got around 1 million, regular players, so they must figure that doing that will, keep those people around.
And it's hard to argue. Well, I mean, it's not hard to argue. I think their free-to-play model sucks, personally, flat out.
Yeah.
Whenever I get the jonesing for some SWTOR, I subscribe. I mean, it's just not even an option for me in my mind. When I get a bug up my rear to go and play Star Wars, which I do, and I'm going to be playing Revan when it comes out. I already bought the expansion, and I already have started finishing my my Sith Juggernaut to 55 because I couldn't faction change my already max level Guardian tank. So but I get the 12 times bonus, and that I didn't even think about it. Like when I want to play Star Wars, I just go and subscribe and play. That way I don't have to deal with any of the free to play stuff.
I reinstalled it over the weekend because I knew they were going to give me some subscription time.
Nice.
And I jumped in on like Sunday before that. And I was like, oh my! I played like one Warzone on my Jedi Knight, and I was like, oh, this is not so bad.
You even brought that up to them, though, didn't you? The team at BioWare?
Well, because the computer they had me working on only had one hotbar showing. So they're like, oh yeah, do this to open it up again. I was like, oh good, I thought I was free to play. But
they just kind of gave you smirks, huh?
Yeah, they did. Well, I think I had two. I think it's actually 2 hotbars as a free to play. But I looked and I was like, oh wait, I don't have a title on my character. Hang on, let me pull the title down. Oh, I need to pay to put a title on my character. Oh my god.
Pay to hide helm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sub when I'm going to play it. Yeah, but yeah, I understand it's free to play. The one thing I've always said, though, and I've said it on this show a lot, and this expansion in particular, I've always felt that if you took the MMO out of it and you loved Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, and you wanted to play more of that storyline, then the free-to-play option for the Old Republic was great for you, because you got to go in and do that whole storyline thing. You had to do some filler stuff to get the levels needed to do it, but you at least got to experience that storyline. And now, with Shadow of Revan, this story is capping off the whole Revan storyline that was started in KOTOR and KOTOR 2. And BioWare has said this is the definitive end of this character's main story arc.
Until they need to bring him back to make more money, I comment, and they laughed at that too.
Do you think Jason's... Do you think Jason's maybe a little jaded? I don't know.
No, I really do. I really do believe them. I think they'll be smart enough about that.
So yeah, I mean, if you wanted KOTOR 3, you're probably not going to get that, but at least this wraps up the story for you, and you can jump in and get all of that that stuff free to play. You'll have to buy the expansion. So for $19.99, you're getting the wrap up to the KOTOR storylines if you want. And canonically, it's Revan is a he. So expect it to be a male Revan in game there. I don't know. I'm looking forward to this one. I know Larry Everett, our mutual friend over at Massively, and who we've done stuff on Gamebreaker with, is super Star Wars guy. I mean, that's the guy I follow for any Star Wars: The Old Republic news. He's pumped about this, and a lot of the guild are pumped about it as well. A lot of people returning for this one, which there wasn't so much of a return for the previous 2 expansions, and I think that has to do with what you just pointed out. It's all about story in this one, and people were disappointed when the story wasn't there in the previous 2 expansions.
Yeah, that was something I specifically talked about with my buddy, and he said, there just hasn't been the story, because he's only played like 2 MMOs in his life, but he played KOTOR and KOTOR 2, and he's a big Star Wars fan, so he jumped into this, did all his story stuff. And he said he's kind of subscribed on and off over the past year and a half, because that hasn't happened. He hasn't had more story to play. But he's going to get this one at some point. Maybe not right away, but somewhere down the line. So if that's what you're into, if you wanted the story, this is the time.
It's a coming.
Go back.
It's a coming. How was the trip overall? Pretty cool?
Oh, yeah. I went to EA's main office. I only got to see the bottom floor, because that's where they had a bunch of meeting rooms where they had us set up. There's an elevator after security that goes to like the real stuff, but we don't get to see that.
They were like, let's keep everybody on the ground floor next to the front doors.
Oh, they let me in free, but to get up to the higher floors would have been a microtransaction.
Oh, zing indeed. All right, let's wrap it up with the news today. We're going to have to kind of do a little rapid fire around here, because G-Star 2014, the convention, just finished up in, where was it this year? It was Korea.
Somewhere in Korea.
Yeah.
That's generally where it is.
Yep. So, big news on a number of different titles there. I'm going to show you some footage from Ion, from NCSoft. Bloop, bloop. There we go. That was definitely one of the things that was discussed, but not in the way you think it was. So let's talk about this. First up, I think the biggie is Lineage Eternal, right? Finally, we saw more Lineage Eternal news after, 3 years?
Yeah, I think that's about when I first remember. I remember talking about it in the magazine about that time, about 3 years ago.
So it's taking, we've seen the trailers before now. It's taking a bit of a isometric view, kind of a Diablo 3 type view.
It's an ARPG.
Yeah,
straight up, pretty much.
Exactly. So right off of that type of vein. Lots of action going on the screen, though. Looking pretty good. I'm curious how they get in the MMO elements of it instead of just it seeming like a Diablo multiplayer. So I don't know. I'm not as excited for Lineage Eternal as I once was, because I think I was looking forward to more of a Lineage 3 than Lineage Eternal, something in the MMORPG space. Don't get me wrong, I like Diablo and games like that, but I don't think I'm as pumped for this one anymore, and I think I'm in the minority. There's a lot of people really psyched about this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you have a game like Path of Exile has really reinvigorated people in like MMO ARPG, realm. So you always hope that the next game is going to be on that level. Now, what I can remember from when I first heard about Eternal back 3 years ago was they're going to have a thing where you could like draw on the map to make effects happen. Like if you could scribble a line and they'll make like a line of fire if you were a mage, or if you were a warrior, you like click and hold to a line into somebody to do your leaping attack.
Tablet
I'm not
much?
seeing that here. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. But again, I don't see any of that here. It looks like pretty much a straight up ARPG, which is, I guess that's okay. But what is it going to do that's going to be different from Diablo, from Path of Exile, other than having the lineage name attached to it, which might be enough. We saw what the numbers were last week, and
right. But I don't think they capitalize on the lineage name much here. I mean, maybe story-wise, obviously, the very limited amount of information we have coming out isn't in English anyway, so we're relying on multiple translations of things. But unless story-wise it's really pushing lineage, it's just kind of bearing the name for the name's sake at this point. I don't know. And especially with this other one, Lost Ark, also in the same ARPG vein, if I've got to pick one to play,
yeah, exactly,
it's Lost Ark. I mean,
it is flashy as hell.
Yeah, big weapons, big swords. We have the trailer up on mmobomb.com for you to take a look at, but it's actually not a trailer. It's 8 minutes of randomized gameplay, and damn, does it look solid. Came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, it definitely has the pretty, and it looks like it does a lot of interesting things. Like I said, Lineage Eternal didn't seem to have. And I love the one part where he grabs the continent with his like beam thing and pulls it towards him.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
I'm not walking over there. I'm just gonna move over there to be here. Yeah. So yeah, Lost Ark, if I've got to pick one out of Lost Ark and Lineage Eternal, I'm going Lost Ark at this point based on what we've seen. That's not to say that Lineage's Eternal looks bad to me. I think it looks great visually, and it fits right in with its competitors, but I want to see more of what they're doing and how it's incorporating the Lineage namesake. Ion and Blade and Soul.
I was going to say, but just one last note on that.
God.
As you say, we don't know very much about gameplay or level loot grind or other details yet, and that's
right.
like, it's nice that it looks pretty.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
That's a good deciding factor for me.
If I got to pick one, just on the trailers, though.
Sure.
What else? Ion and Blade and Soul, other NCSoft properties, they got a bit of love, but not in the way you would think. We were hoping that we would see a Blade and Soul in the West announcement. No, that didn't happen. We were hoping we would see some new, huge, expansive Ion content, although they just had an expansion not too long ago. No, we didn't see that. But what we got, Jason, instead was...
a card game.
Ion and Blade and Soul are getting mobile versions. Oh, God.
Well, that's... I mean, it's big everywhere. Mobile stuff is, but... and us being a core PC site, if we actually covered all free-to-play gaming, it would be nothing but mobile games, like all the way down. So
that's true.
But I get that.
That's true.
I get that companies want to make money with that stuff.
I get it, but you then make a mobile game, right? This is literally, we're talking about Lineage maybe just cashing in on the name. This is literally just trying to cash in on the names of your franchises. So Ion is going to be a tactical-based game. Think something like a Final Fantasy Tactics or Ogre Battle. Boy, I'm dating myself here. Some of those types of games. I still play those. Those types of games. Tactical combat. Blade and Soul, as Jason mentioned, is going to be a card game. And watch, that'll be the version we get in North America.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit surprising on that front, so no big news there, but yeah, there's videos on MMO Bomb to check out both of those too. I think these are terrible decisions. I understand wanting to get into the mobile stuff. That's great. But to me, this feels like just we're going to get into the mobile stuff by cashing in on existing franchise names and just semi-make them related. I think in Ion's mobile version, they're talking about bringing over some of the key bosses in the actual MMO. And okay, fine. But really, Blade and Soul is a card game?
They're starting to go full Square Enix here.
Oh! Oh, man.
Hopefully it'll be better than Final Fantasy All the Bravest.
Don't even get me started on that game. It's free. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's $149 if you want everything. What was the last one? Oh, Project
Ghost in the Shell.
Han. Yeah, Project
that.
Han. Oh yeah. You go ahead with Ghost in the Shell. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, just that we actually saw some real footage and something to do with the Ghost in the Shell MMO. I guess an MMO FPS now. We'd heard about it a while back. I think you said you reported on it when you were.
Yeah, I remember talking about it on a free-to-play cast years ago when we first saw that Nexon had purchased the license, and we didn't know what they were going to do with it.
And I hate to feel almost the same way as I do with the whole Ion stuff, but it's like I look at it and it's like, okay, it's a shooter. It's got a few little technological bits, but I mean, I guess you tack the Ghost in the Shell skin on it, and I guess you make it a game. But
oh, I don't know, man. There were some great fan nods in the trailer.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And there was some characters teased towards the end.
Sure, yeah.
There was a bunch of teasing there. And they're actually, to be clear, Nexon owns the rights for the standalone complex anime version of this. So you're not going to see, like, some of the previous storylines or the manga. This is going to be the standalone complex anime that the game is based on. So if you weren't a fan of that anime, then there's probably no real reason for you to check this out. Besides,
yeah, I do love the laughing man.
Yes,
when he kills somebody.
Yes,
that is pretty.
A little smiley face. I'm not super pumped about this, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I enjoy Ghost in the Shell. I enjoyed the standalone complex anime. I'm all for a first-person shooter. You know, I'm not great at them, but I enjoy them. I have fun with them. Sadly, my excitement died with the name Nexon.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I tried playing Combat Arms once for a little while, and but hey, there is a lot of hacking in Ghost in the Shell, so it's almost like true to life if they make it like Combat Arms.
There's another company that does that to me too, and it's not to say that they're terrible companies. I just don't like some of their monetization choices in particular, and then secondary, some of their support mechanisms are just terrible.
They just toss it out.
Nexon's one of them. Area is another one that just boggles my mind sometimes on some of the decisions. Echo of Soul is something that's coming up in the West here next year, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could dig. Oh shit, it's Area Games. Well, I'll give it a whirl and see what it looks like, but I don't know. Sometimes they just make decisions that boggle my mind. Project Han, bit more detail if you want to check that on the website. Very space titan-y, mech-y game. Almost looked like a Hawken to me.
It looked shinier than Hawken. Hawken has a kind of very, very I don't know what's called, not post-apocalyptic so much, just sort of like a very narrow, very dirty. This is a little cleaner, I guess. Be my thought on it.
A little cleaner Hawken. You heard it here first. That's definitely a quote that they won't be using anytime soon. Let's go over and do the bombs. A little cleaner Hawken.
But sometimes
Jason
having a look
Winter.
dirty. Yeah, I like the dirty look of Hawken. Give me your dirty Hawken, baby.
Speaking of what I was just talking about, my bomb this week is an A-bomb for Echo of Soul being published by Area Games. I think the game looks neat itself. I like the whole soul capturing mechanism that they have for learning your skills and stuff. I like that. We're going to be talking to the team from Echo of Soul later this week into next week, so I'll have more information and probably an interview for you by then. But again, Area Games just sometimes they make silly monetization choices, and support is a bit rough at times. So I'm kind of disappointed that it's being published by Area Games. I'll give it a whirl. We'll see. Maybe I'll eat this A-bomb and say, you know what, they did it great this time, and you know what, nothing would make me happier. What about you, Jason?
Remember what I said yesterday? What's my theme for MMO? What's my my MMO tenet? Buy American. Anyway, my A-bomb is to GameStop for thinking that they're actually still relevant.
Ouch! It's Thanksgiving, man.
Well, but then when your president is going to speak up about how it's terrible that digital games are eroding prices and so on, I'm just going to give you crap for it.
Yeah, that wasn't very wise.
No, I mean, they have competition, which they didn't have 15, 20 years ago. This kind of competition, and they can't keep up. So, good luck to you, buddy. But just talking about how we shouldn't be doing it this way. You guys are giving away your games for free or for less or for $10 or whatever. Well, you do it too, but oh wait, hang on. You actually can't. It's not actually possible.
Womp womp.
So.
Penn Lion says an A-bomb to people who post best of lists with games that are not yet released or not available in North America. Many of these games will never make it to the market here or will be a big disappointment when they're finally available. I would insert an ArcAge comment here, but that one's just getting too easy.
Again, by American.
With so many great... Such a jingoistic attitude. With so many great games out, this is a disservice to gamers looking for a new game. As for free-to-play games, there are more great free-to-play games than sub and buy-to-play. As to pay-to-win, for me, if I have access to all the content and can do all the quests without spending money, that is a win. I do not care if someone has better gear than me, but then I'm a PvE Care Bear. You're up.
All right, this comes from, wow, I'm going to just spell out his name, DSCDAP. I'm going to call him Disco Dap. That's going to be my short name for him. So Disco Dap says, Dub-bomb for the new Preseason 5 changes. As of today, the League of Legends video you have shown is two visual map overhauls behind. Well, shame on us. They changed so much with this patch. It's almost 2.0 at this point.
No, not shame on us for a minute here, because I want to talk about this.
Okay, all right. Disco Dap,
I never understood this. When we did the very first free-to-play cast with video, like the format that we use now, we said, hey, give us feedback if you like the new video. And we showed
that's what he's talking about.
We showed almost no gameplay on that first episode. I think we showed a trailer or two, if that. And we inserted more because most viewers were like, hey, we want some of the gameplay. We like the video stuff, but put some gameplay in there too. And we said, okay, fine, we'll put more gameplay in there. But just realize, guys, that even when we started the free-to-play cast, years and years and years ago, every episode has pretty much used the first look footage for whatever game we're talking about, which means it's always been behind. Always. So yeah, the League of Legends is from our League of Legends first look video, which is years ago, and it will always be behind. We can't really show too many trailers on this show, and that's unfortunately because of YouTube and copyright and stuff like that, where we can show our first looks and stuff because they're created by us. If I have updated footage, like Jason and I jump in and do a gameplay action, we'll use it. But in most cases, we don't. So, yeah, you're right. It was 2 map overhauls behind. But you guys wanted more gameplay footage, so...
We show whatever we want as long as the people who make the game don't put in a copyright notice.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
So, continuing with Disco Dap, he says, A-bomb to Riot and Blizzard for releasing their games on the stinking Macs and not Linux. They are so similar that porting to Linux is a spitting distance away from becoming reality. There's also evidence that, at least in Blizzard's case, these bastards are using Linux intentionally to develop their games, which just makes my freaking blood boil. Nah, I'm kidding. But Linux versions are long overdue, and as soon as SteamOS finally ships, I hope these two will move their butts and finally release a Linux version, even though neither have their games on Steam. Wow.
You say Linux, I say Linux. Let's
Linux,
call the whole thing off.
Linux, whatever.
Who cares?
Linux, like Linus from
the Linus, Sweet
Charlie
Babu. Victor Alkaiser says, not sure why they talked about someone A-bombing Warframe, because we had a viewer last week that A-bombed Warframe. That patch was immediately reverted with an apology literally 1 day later. They've since fixed the problem, revamped the Syndicate reputation gain system completely, and even fixed the Arcwing problem that we had talked about too.
Perfect World isn't evil.
Keep in mind, yeah, the whole 3% that they own. Keep in mind, gang, that you watch this on Thursdays. It's typically recorded on Tuesdays. So the A-bomb came in, it went on the show, the stuff was fixed Wednesday. So yeah, we'll have that from time to time. Question of the week. Last week we asked Has the League of Legends community actually improved over the last year, in your opinion, or is Riot's stats that we talked about a bit misleading? What does Nintendo have to say? Great name.
Nintendo
That's a great
says Nintendo. It's not Disco Dap.
No.
Nintendo says, well, the community still consists of a heckload of toxic players. I even understand when people get mad at you when you are bad and all, but most of the people involved flame you for no reason at all. I already encountered racists that insult you the game because your name sounds foreign, and they mostly don't stop at that. They even shout out death threats and wish you would just die a gruesome death and all. The community of LoL didn't change a single bit. It even got worse. It's just Riot trying to make it look nice and fluffy. Fluffy.
Yeah, you know what? I always try to find contrasting viewer points of view here. So, like, if I get a viewer like Nintendo that says, you know, oh no, it didn't change, I try and find somebody that says, yes, it didn't. I couldn't.
I'm looking down the list here.
I couldn't on this one. Flavault says, Riot loves to release their propaganda in forms of statistics. Their numbers are ridiculous, to say the least. I agree it's silly to reward players for not behaving badly, but I also think that the tribunal and punishments in the game are just as silly. You don't improve the community's behavior that way, as one login into the game at any time will prove. Riot's general stance towards griefers is very toxic, as they like to call it, because the rewards and punishments not only give off the wrong image to players about themselves of how they and others act, but it also encourages griefers to troll even harder in the games, since you cannot get reported and banned for actual negative behavior by in-game actions, but only for constant negative behavior patterns which need to be either be explicitly expressed over the chat by you, be explicitly addressed by other players over the chat, or at very minimum must be somehow shown through data numbers that need to reflect what's inside the reports. This whole act about who is toxic and who is not is a giant joke. It was not a good community that made this game popular. Damn!
Wow.
Last up.
From Frealms, which I'll assume is short for Free Realms, so I'm just making up people's names as we go along here. He says, I'm all about improving a community and positive reinforcements, but good grief, it is a bad idea and an exploitable one to reward good behavior. Reward is in itself that you play with better people and have more fun. Then again, with the toxic community that MOBAs tend to have, who knows? Still find it flawed.
Pretty much.
There's just no real solution.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't at this point.
Don't be a dick.
Will Wheaton.
Yep.
Question of the week. Over the last few weeks, we have announced a ton of games coming in 2015, and not just to the world in 2015, but a lot of games that will finally be making their way stateside in 2015 as well. So wherever you are in the world, which are you most excited about and why?
And will you still play it a month after it launches?
Leave your comments right down below. Make sure you leave your weekly bomb, dub bomb for something great, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming. Let us know your thoughts. Until next time, Jason, where can our friends find you?
I'm on the Twitters at WinterInformal, streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter, blogging jasonwinter.wordpress.com.
Whoa! The music. Whoa! I just... Sorry, gang. Hold on. Let me
break?
Refresh that. There we go. No, the music was really loud for a second. Apologies. Gang, I'm Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1, and all over on MMOBomb.com, where Jason and I are writing all kinds of stuff every day. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you out on the servers.